Well, hello, St. Michael's. I wanted to make a brief video to share with you a couple things. There's two big things I want to share about this Exodus book. One is how to do the SOAP method or how to use the book as an individual. And secondly, I want to talk to group leaders and tell them how to navigate the book. It's a great book, but there are a lot of tools in here and a lot of things to look at. So let me just walk you through and give you a great overview on how to use it so that you don't get kind of into the weeds too much. So like I said, it's got a lot, of course, a great cover, best art in the world, of course. Anyway, moving along, look at this. It's just the table of contents, but that shows you everything that's in the book. If you look at week one, there's a daily SOAP readings, there's family devotional, there's group meeting, and then there's leaders group study notes. Let me take you through all of those things. The first thing that you see as soon as you open to the first chapter is a commentary of sorts on what you're about to look at. It's written by me or Bill Heyer, and it's a way for us to introduce a certain concept for you as you begin to think about this section of scripture. As you get to the end of that, you'll see this page that says daily SOAP readings. And what we've done is we've broken up all of the book of Exodus into 5 daily readings, give you a little break on the weekend or however you want to structure your day. There's a question for each of the days that you can do, but it keeps saying, read and SOAP these passages. What in the world is SOAP? Well, there's instructions in your book. You can follow along those if they're helpful to you, but let me give you a brief overview of what it means to SOAP. I created this little page, and so you can imagine along with me what I've done. What I do is I write in a journal the letter S, O, A, and P. And I just write that down the page or use a separate page away from this book. And what I do is I write out phrases that I think are important in the section. So you can look, it's Genesis 50:19 through Exodus 1:5. All of those verses in there would take up the whole page. But if I was handwriting them, I would write out the different phrases. Joseph said to them, do not fear, for who am I in the place of God? You meant evil, but God meant it for good, to bring it about that many people should be kept alive. Joseph remained in Egypt 110 years. Joseph said to his brothers, I'm about to die, but God will visit you and bring you up out of this land that he swore to Abraham and Isaac and Jacob. Carry up my bones from here. Joseph died in Egypt. These are the names of the sons of Israel who came to Egypt. So just some key phrases are what I write in my journal. And then I do the observation. I just kind of look through those key phrases and go, what do I notice about those things? I notice Joseph encourages them to fear God rather than him. I notice that God turns evil things around and brings good. Joseph lived a long life. That's a good thing. Joseph trusted God's promises to put Abraham's descendants in the promised land. That's what he's talking about with I'm about to die, but go to the land he swore to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. God keeps track of where we are and where our families are by name. So those are some of the observations that I see as I just kind of quickly run through all of those things. Now, here's the trick. When it comes to application, what I do is I turn the observation into a question. So look at the first one. Joseph encourages them to fear God rather than him. So I just ask myself a question. Look under application. Do I fear God rather than people? Or look at the next one. God turns evil things around and brings good. Application. Do I trust God to turn evil things around and bring good? Great question for me to think about. The last one, God keeps track of where we and our families are by name. Whenever you see lists of names, we always think like, what is that about? But they're important to God. Your name is important to God. My name is important to God. And here's the key thing for me as I was looking at this, I thought, wow, am I remembering that God keeps track of where my family is? I have some that are far away from him and some that are with him that are, following after him and are far away from us. Am I remembering that God keeps track of my children, my family, my relations, wherever they are in relation to him or wherever they are in the world by name, that he cares? And so after I begin to turn those observations into applications, then the prayer becomes pretty easy. I just kind of pray, Lord, help me to fear you instead of other people, or whatever it is that the questions bring out. And I kind of write out those prayers because that helps me quiet my mind and really focus. And then there's that question from day one. And I just reproduced it here just so you'd see it. How confident are you that God fulfills his promises? What promise are you waiting on God to fulfill? So plenty to do in your daily devotional time. But as you can see, it doesn't need to take that long. The process of writing out scripture gets it into your brain, making observations, keeps you faithful to the text, and then just turning those observations into applications gives you some really good questions to ask yourself. Okay, so that's what you should do on a daily basis if you can. Let me tell you this though. If you do one every day for the next 11 weeks, and you've never done anything like this before, you'll have done 11 times better than you ever have in the past. So just jump in, try it, share it with me, bring your journal. I'd love to see. And if you need any help, let me know. Now, let me talk a little bit about group meetings. So when you come to a small group, all you need is this page. Week 1 is on page 13. And that has everything you need to go through that group. It's got a bunch of questions, and then of course the apply questions, which are the most important ones. When you come to a group, we're meaning to have conversation with the Bible and our friends and learn something. And so that's what we're trying to do, and apply it to our lives and pray for each other. It doesn't need to be complicated. It can be just enjoyable. One other thing that's in there is a family devotional. All you need to do is read the passage together and then ask them to summarize. What did you hear? What did you think God was doing? And then these are simple questions just to try out in your family. Don't do every one of the questions. Okay, now kids, let's do question number 1. All right, question number 2. All right, question number 3, because that would get boring. Don't do that. Instead, just kind of look over them ahead of time and take the conversation wherever it goes. But get at the end, what is God doing? What are people doing? And what is some good news in this passage? And then pray for each other. There's a little simple way to pray. Thank you, sorry, please. Very easy. Now, if you've kind of looked at it and you said, okay, I can do that much, jump in and try. There's that first page. It's actually page 5, but I put it here just as an example. Set a time. That's first step. And then try that SOAP journaling. Number 2, gather with some people and share what God is teaching you. And number 3, share what you're learning, your celebrations, your places and questions that you need help. We're here as clergy to coach you through the book of Exodus. So jump in. Now, if you're a small group leader, hang on with me for a little bit longer. If you're not, just take off the rest of this video. We'll see you on Sunday. But if you're a small group leader, I want you to hang on and just see a little bit of how the book is set up for you. So small group leaders, there's a bunch of little things about how to lead a Bible study. All this text here is good for that. Different rules for the road, what an open question is, what it means to story the text. There are also helps at the end of the book for that, so take a look at those. But I want to give you a brief overview. When you are leading a group, have your people just look at this page, this week 1 page, and don't have them look at all the notes. Just have them look there, because you want to have a conversation. You don't want to just be teaching and your voice be the one that's heard over the scripture. You want to just start a conversation and drive them into the scriptures. But here's how it works. If you're looking and have your part open, the leader's notes, all of this stuff is leader's stuff. But we've put questions in line for you so you can look and have some visual reminders. So when I'm doing this, I'll highlight things in my book and all the rest. But then when I get to the questions, I'll ask in various ways these 3 questions. How'd you see God showing up last week? And then I get to the icebreaker. It's just a good way to start a conversation. I might do it over dinner. Might do it as people are coming in, however the group's set up. And then I'll ask, hey, what's happened in the story so far? Now we've all done chapter 1. Now on chapter 2, we can kind of look back and go, okay, what happened? Let's remind ourselves and then start in. Now you notice all of this stuff, look at that red line. All of this is leader stuff. It's not stuff to be necessarily shared unless it's helpful for you to set up the conversation. It's something for you to know, keep tucked in your brain, and let the Let it just guide you as you have the conversation. More stuff over here on storying and summarizing. And what I mean by storying is either reading the text aloud to each other, or there's a method of learning the text and saying it orally. And there's instructions in the back. And if you have questions about that, let me know. Basically, get them into the text and then have them summarize what the text says. I like to say, hey, be a journalist and learn what is this, how would you summarize this in 140 Twitter characters, or how would you put a headline on this, various ways, just to say summarize this in some unique way. So take the text, summarize it. A lot of times I'll ask people, what's the key verse? If you were to pick up one verse in the middle of this, what would it be? I've already noted that for you, what I think it is, although other people will think different things. That's okay. Help them to read the text, and as long as they're focused on the text and going, okay, here's why I think this is, it's all good. You're having a conversation with the Bible as the main character in the conversation. The outline there, that again is just for leaders. Just keep that as a roadmap in your mind. Then as you get to this part, this is where the group stuff comes in. Now, I put point 1, a new king who doesn't know Joseph is afraid of God's people and enslaves them. That's just for you. That's just for you to have a mental note about what's going on in this section. If I were leading a group, I would say, hey, Jim, can you read verses 8 through 14? And I'd have them read it, then I'd have them summarize it. And then I'd ask 1 or 2 of these questions down here. Probably that question right there. What did the new king fear? And what was his initial strategy for dealing with his fear? Gets us back into the text, keeping the text primary and going for it. And then you see, this is leader stuff. These notes here are not the kind of thing that you want to be bringing up hardly at all. Use it as a resource if people get stuck with something. If people go, oh, who's this new king? Or what does it mean that people were too many and too mighty? Try to pick out things that people would ask questions about and give you some helpful hints. I wouldn't read any of that to the people. I wouldn't share that with them unless you wanted to, or unless there was something that really struck you. I would just move on to the next part of the text. And I would read it, summarize it, ask the questions. Again, leaders' notes are here for you to just kind of think through and do your study so you really know what's going on. And then point 3, read the text, summarize it, and then ask some questions. And then at the end are other notes. And then this is all still leader stuff, all the way down to this gospel centrality. This is for you to see, hey, how does Greg or how does Bill think about Jesus in the middle of this Old Testament text? And that's the way we thought of it. But man, there's a dozen different ways that Jesus shows up if you're looking for him. So let people have a lot of freedom. Now, here's the final group stuff. And if I was setting up a meeting, I would spend the most time on this. If I had an hour, I might spend 15 minutes on icebreaker gathering, getting everybody together. I might spend 20 minutes getting people into the text, reading it, summarizing, asking a few observation questions. And then I would spend the rest of the time, the 25 remaining minutes, on these 5 questions, because this is where you're going to really move people forward, especially question 3, where you try to figure out what's the good news in this passage rather than good advice. If you haven't heard me teach on that, or you need some help, please just reach out to me, give me a call, set up a Zoom meeting. I'll take you out for coffee. Meredith loves it when I provide her with receipts from Blind Tiger. So, whatever you want to do and however you'd like to meet up, let me help you figure out that gospel centrality thing. It's a really cool way of really seeing what Jesus is doing in the Old Testament. The rest of the book has all kinds of helps in the back, even lists of commentaries where we get all this from. We want to resource you so that you have everything that you need. And so I just encourage you, jump in, try it out. If you get stuck, ask questions. And if you have formatting ideas for the next time we do it, or helpful hints for the way you might do it, please let Bill or I know so we can keep refining and reforming and growing this thing so that it helps all of us to take the next step forward in loving Jesus and loving the world. Have a great day.